Radio with X.
Welcome to Heal with Us, where we aim to inspire, strengthen, and empower.
Now let's begin to heal.
Hey, y'all, I'm Toya, and I'll be investigating the business of everyday people like you and I.
Hello, it's Dr. Nikkisha Bell-Griffin, and I'll be checking in on your heart.
I'm Tam. I'm the nerd, and I'm going to give you the fun facts that you didn't know you needed because I'm just nerdy like that.
Now that you met us, let's get in your business. All right, so today's episode, I just wanted to ask a few things. Like, was there a moment in life where you thought, I may as well just give up?
Well,
Have you had that moment?
Yeah, about a couple of days ago when I went to go buy that lottery ticket for that $1 billion, I just said, you know what? I played when it entered into the first billion, didn't win. I said, oh, I might as well give up. The odds are 1 in how many 100 millions? Yeah.
You just have to live in California, apparently.
I see.
Oh, why is that where all the winners are?
Yeah.
The one
majority
soul
of the
winner.
time.
The one soul winner.
The one soul winner won 1 point something billion by themselves.
That is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's blasphemous. I'm sorry. That's asinine.
We do need sponsors, just saying.
Right. Please.
Congratulations.
Help us.
By the way. But all jokes aside, I'm just being facetious. What was the question again?
Was there a moment in life where you felt like
Sorry.
confusing the big words? Was there a moment in your life where you thought I may as well just give up?
May as well give up.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. And I kind of hate to say it, but trying to develop a relationship with my father. Yeah. When someone is dealing with their own personal demons and it gets the best of them and you see them battling with them for years and years and years, and you know that's not your fight to try to get in or control or what have you, but when you see that they're losing that fight, that there's no chance that you can kind of get in and do what should have been done. And that I think that's a time where I can say, yeah, I just need to throw in the towel because it's beyond me.
So those moments when you were like, I'm not giving up, like before you made it to that point, what was happening? Like what drove you to the point where you were just like, yeah, it's a wrap?
Well, I hadn't seen him in years. And his brother, my uncle, came over to my house and he was doing some work for me. And we just got in a conversation like, when's the last time you seen him? And I was like, I don't know. So at the time, my son had to be about 13 or 14. He's never met his grandfather. And I'm telling my uncle this. He said, this is a shame. This doesn't make any sense. Mind you, I soon discovered he lives maybe 10 minutes down the road from us. How long he's been there, I don't know. So my uncle gets on the phone and calls him, has a conversation. I'm at your daughter's house. He kind of exaggerates and say, I need a ride. Like, come get it. So he comes. Doesn't say, oh my God, it's good to see you. I've heard I had a grandson. Where is he? I would love to meet him. Instead, can I have some money?
Yeah.
So at that point, you know that you are in control of how you respond. You never give nobody that power over you. I wanted to respond a different way. But my response was, I went ahead and gave him that money. And he left. He didn't even come there for what he was supposed to come there, was to give my uncle a ride to wherever he was going. So my uncle was like, well, where is he? Oh, he left. He asked me for some money. He said, you gave it to him? I said, yeah. Like, he said, why would you do that? Why would you do that? You know what he's going to do with that money. I said, I have no issues with what he's going to do with it. I knew that I could help or provide, and that's what I did. I will be blessed in return. And he was like, you shouldn't have did that. And I was like, at that moment, it hit me. I just got to let it go.
Yeah.
I can't, I just got to let it go.
Yeah.
Got to let it go.
Oh, you so nice. Cause I'd have been like, and you shouldn't have invited him over. That's what should not have happened. Cause I'm like, you knew, like I guess he was just hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. And
So,
I knew he was going to fuss him out, because he didn't know. I hadn't seen him in a very long time, but that wasn't because of what have you. It was just that they lived somewhere else, and we just kind of fell out of contact.
Yeah.
But he was going to really lay into him about, dude, like, your daughter's doing these amazing things. She's grown to be an amazing woman. She's a mother. You have a grandchild you never met. Like, you can't make up for lost time, but start right now anew. But no. So at that point, I just said, I got to let it go.
When you did let it go, what were your feelings, like thoughts, all those good things?
To be honest with you, I didn't have any feelings or thoughts, because I never knew the man.
Yeah.
I knew of him sporadically when I was younger. He would spend time here and there, but it wasn't even time. It was, he would pick me up, dump me to my grandmother's, leave me there for the weekend, then come back on Sunday when it's time for me to go home and take me home.
Yeah.
So I didn't even feel a way.
Yeah.
And I, in therapy, asked, is there something wrong with me? Like, am I a psycho? Because when he was on his deathbed and he passed, I didn't feel no hurt.
Yeah.
I wasn't sad. I was more angry at the fact that I had to make the final decisions and all of this, and paying for funerals and doing all of this, when this man was non-existent to me.
Yeah.
But yet I have a brother and a sister, which I think I've met them maybe 2 times.
Yeah.
And the sister, she's just distraught. And I'm like,
Right.
and then I start to think about it, like, why am I not sad that I just lost my father? Am I psycho? Is that a sign of me being a sociopath? Because I don't have any empathy or sadness?
No, because you had already grieved him before that, the loss of him.
That's a good point. I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
I agree.
Been there.
So that's how I felt. I didn't have any feelings about it.
Yeah. I think you did. You just already went through it, ahead of time. So, yeah. All right, Dr. Nikkisha.
I mean, that's a very sad question.
Was there a moment in life where you thought, I may as well just give up?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I feel like that sometimes with my finances, because it's just always something that happens.
Yeah.
And just when you feel like you're getting ahead, there's
Yeah.
something else that comes about. And then trying to find that balance of actually living and taking advantage of the moment, but being sensible is like such a fine
Kinda hard to
line.
do.
It's very
Yeah.
hard to do.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes I just feel like this is it for me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm grateful for what I have, but, of course I aspire for more. But it's like sometimes I'm like, just forget it, but because I don't see a way out sometimes, it's like, how do and I talk about this all the time, like, to me, you can't exchange time for money. And if you do, you're losing so much time, and you're never feeling like you're making enough money. You know what I mean? I mean, even people who make great amount of money, I'm sure those people who work hours and hours wish they could spend more time with their family or do things, just live life. So just trying to find that something that's going to like fill in that gap, but also be a better steward over what I have and more grateful in the process. Yeah, that's been a challenge for me over the last, couple of years. And I do honestly get in that space sometimes where like, just forget it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I don't know. Yeah.
So when you're not giving up on your finances, what does that look like?
It probably looks like me spending it.
That's why I was in here laughing, like,
having fun shopping and
Uh-huh.
you know, going places and doing things, you know, to enjoy life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you don't give up, what does that look like?
That looks like me finding that great middle where I can save, invest, and live the way I want to live, you know, all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know myself. I guess I should have had this pre-planned. The question for myself.
It's okay. It's more
A
authentic
moment
this
in
way.
life where I thought I may as well give up.
She has to read
So I do
Yeah.
because I want it to be fresh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think probably somewhere in the mid-20s where you thought, okay, I should have graduated by now. I should be in my dream job. I should be. So I think for me, that was the moment where I was like, well, what's the point? Like, how, I was supposed to have this and I was supposed to have that, or look at how they're doing versus how I'm doing. For me, that moment was like one of those, well, I don't care. Like, I don't care about doing any of this stuff anymore. When I didn't give up, I think I just reworked my plan. Like, okay, so maybe it doesn't look like this, but it's going to look like that for me. And when I did give up, I was just feeling pitiful. Like it didn't do me any good.
Yeah.
So it just drove me to make a new plan well, this is what I want my life to look like. Maybe I don't have $1 million or $1 billion, but with what I do have, this is what I want it to look like. So, yeah.
And that's a good point because
Yeah.
I think about what Tamara was saying on one of our episodes where you were talking about being in survival mode. And I honestly feel like that's why I am where I am now because I didn't really give myself space to dream. Like I knew what career I wanted and I knew, you know, certain things that had to be done, but I never really dreamed big when it came to like, you know, okay, I can own homes or I can do this, you know, things that would bring in some finances, but also allow me to travel and do
Yeah.
I didn't really dream that big because it was always the immediate. I got to take care of this. I got to take care of that, you know. And so I felt like you for a minute too, like, well, this is not what I planned at all for my life, but I really didn't plan because I wasn't dreaming that big. And now I'm in a place where I'm dreaming and I'm like, oh, well, how can I close this gap? Because, you know.
well, I can say one thing that helps me if I am dreaming about something or aspiring to obtain something, I put myself around it.
Yeah.
So when we made the decision to build a house, buy a house, I would constantly ride around neighborhoods of houses that were more that I could obtain and some that I could and some that were below what I could to help me stay motivated and dream harder.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and I constantly did that. I would do it maybe twice a week. I would just ride around.
I need to go to
Just-
Cherry Blossom.
I would just ride around, like traveling. So in this upcoming year, I want to travel more. I've been looking at travel channels on
Okay.
YouTube and just looking at, I'm finding myself looking at, or videos being put in my algorithm of people what do they call them? Expats? People who have left the United States and now live in different countries.
wow, okay.
So it's this young lady that I follow. She was in Atlanta. She says she made about 80 to 85,000 a year, and she sold everything here, and she moved to. She's living in Italy,
Wow.
in the countryside of Italy, not like Venice,
Right.
but the countrysides of Italy.
Sounds so
And
exciting.
she says that she was like, I can live substantially wider and bigger there on the income that I made in America.
Wow.
And so I've just been kind of watching people like that. And I've also been watching people who, you said something about investing. There's two people that I follow who invested heavily in, while they were working, invested heavily into their health savings account to the point that, because that accrues faster than
Right.
like a 401k.
Right.
But, most people who invest in that, they're pretty healthy, they're young,
Yeah.
that they were able to retire early, all because they invested in that health savings account. It drew interest, and that was their, of course, you got your 401k, but they were able to retire early.
Right.
But I think they moved to Costa Rica,
Oh, wow.
and they have 2 children,
That's amazing.
like little children. So I just find myself, if I put myself in it or around it or constantly have it kind of flowing
Right.
through me, whether it's my eyes, my ears, my touch,
Yeah. Yeah.
it helps me to
Right. Reminds you.
ascertain and obtain.
Yeah. That's smart. I like that. Okay.
So maybe that's a tool
Yeah.
you can use.
Okay. I'm definitely.
Because it's like you're kind of putting it out there
Right. Exactly.
into the atmosphere. But if we want to be more biblical, you have not because you asked not.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, I feel like I done depleted my ass to God,
Okay,
because
I
he'd
don't
be
think
like,
he can
girl,
ever say-
you
I
again.
don't think he will ever say that.
Girl, I'm tired. Don't
Yes.
come to me trying to change your voice either. I created you. So, I mean, I be trying all
Okay.
tricks and
Okay.
whispering and
Oh,
trying to
whisper.
speak other languages. And he like, girl, I know who you are. So maybe,
I'm on to you. Yes.
so maybe that can
Okay,
help.
I'm gonna try that. I'm definitely
Yeah.
like that idea.
And I was gonna say too, like, don't discount your small, like, victories, little victories, because
Yeah.
even though you have a big dream, the little things on the way matter too. Like, for example, in my 20s when I was doing all that, well, I don't, and this thing and that, from where I started to where I was at that point was huge.
Yeah.
But I was too busy wanting the next level that I didn't even appreciate
Yeah.
where I
You didn't
was.
Where you
sit
were.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Yep. So
live in
Yeah.
that moment.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's all I have. Thank you for letting me get in your business.
Sure.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, all right. Hey, y'all. How's your heart? We're going to continue this conversation. And I just have a few questions. We're talking about tracing your triggers because we know triggers can be very serious. They can be attached to some type of emotion, some type of trauma, some type of even mental, I guess, thought or reprogramming or patterning or whatever you may call it. But I feel like we're stepping into a new year, new season, and it's important to kind of look at this past year, or if you want to go deeper, go ahead, and just examine what triggers you have noticed that have been like constantly coming up, over the last, 12 months. So I'll ask you ladies, what triggers can you trace over this past year? I'll start with Toya since she picks on us. So good.
The trigger. Oh, triggers. Okay. Let me see. Let me pull that bro. I think not feeling like I'm doing a good enough job is, and that's in all aspects, as a mother, as at work, all that, as a wife, all that stuff.
Okay.
So that's one of my.
So how do you cope with that?
I guess like positive reinforcement from the people around me. Like maybe I'm feeling like, oh man, I'm really doing horrible here. And then they might say something not even knowing that I'm feeling like that to like reassure me of, no, you're doing a pretty good job. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Not the side eye.
I know.
Scared. Don't be scared.
Okay, I'm gonna come to you in a second.
Don't be scared.
So,
Don't be scared.
well, I'll ask y'all this question together. I'll come to you now.
She was
Okay.
scared.
Don't be scared. So, what triggers can you trace over the past year?
Oh my God, so many. Communication triggers, abuse triggers, habitual triggers, meaning habits, depression triggers. Like it's been a lot. This year has been really weird for me. So, yeah.
Okay. So, do you care to expound upon that a little bit, as comfortable, as much as you are comfortable?
So communication triggers. there have been conversations that have been a part of, that things were said that took me to a place that made me feel ways that I didn't want to feel anymore, and I didn't speak up for myself. And so it's just like, okay, so you notice that trigger. Okay, well, what are you going to do about it? And I kind of just let it just kind of roll off my back. But sometimes, yeah, you take the high road. That's the good approach. But sometimes you do need to say a little something.
Right. Yeah.
So that it helps me know that I conquered that trigger, that it didn't help me to cower into my little shell of a person and just scurry away. So that communication trigger for me. I don't know. That's always been kind of a hard thing for me as far as communicating. I don't know. I mean, as far as like feelings, emotions, I can talk forever, you know, but when I have to be serious on an emotional level, I don't want to do that because that's not what I was around growing up. That I don't know that. So it makes me feel weird. It makes me feel like you put on a wool sweater and you just like, and that's what it makes me. Yeah, like that's what it makes me feel like. And I'm so uncomfortable in that space where I'm made to talk about emotions, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. And I would rather tell that person, can I just sit here and cry? I don't. And when I went to therapy, I would say that, can I just cry? You asked me the question, and my answer is gonna be me crying because I don't want to. I don't want to talk about. I don't want to say words. I just don't.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, powerful.
But then again, that's another trigger because that was my response growing up. I was a very emotional, sensitive child that when I would cry, I would get called names, even by the parental unit. So it's like, oh, you big bucket of water, you know, and it's just like, but why I can't? This is how I feel. My eyes are heavy with water. Why can't I let it flow? So then I, get the crying, and it's like, okay, you're a wimp. You stop being a wimp. Stop crying. Don't do that.
That's
so
interesting. Okay.
it's just a lot. I'm a big bundle of a lot.
Yes. So do you feel like that's how you coped? Your coping was telling yourself that
Suppress everything. Don't tell everybody how you feel. Sometimes when I'm really getting a feeling, I would, because I'm a very good communicator, but when I get that, if I'm talking to that person that's triggering that, I will lose eye contact. I would, do this or, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm a loving person. I love to love. I can tell you, Doc, I love you. I don't have any problems saying that, but it's just the deep, deep feelings like, I love you to the moon where the star shines on the left side of the moon. Like that type of.
Okay. So that kind of ties into my question I was going to ask y'all. What is that teaching you about yourself? The fact that you do not.
I still need work. Like I think that's something that I'm going to have to work on for the remainder of breath for me, because that's always been a hard area in life for me.
Yeah. So what's your first step, you think? Talking.
My first step is to, when I feel that trigger happening, take a deep breath and just really, you got to get it out. Like you have to say how you're feeling. Like, I mean, I have no problem expressing. Like if you come to me and ask my opinion, I'll give you opinion.
Right.
I'm going to preface it by saying, are you sure you want my opinion? Because I'm going to be honest.
Right.
And that's another thing for me. It's like, I can do that with somebody else, but when it's me, I can't. I can't get it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you have a starting point. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a start.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What about you?
You
Where
need a
have
good crime here for
I
you.
know, right? No, I'm gonna be like, and why do you feel about that? And what do you think about that? Why do you feel that way? I'm gonna read some words.
Like what these tears say.
What are these tears telling you? Okay.
You don't want to talk about it.
Yes. That's like I was watching Elemental the other day. Cute little, I love little children's movies are the best. I'm sorry. But I don't know if y'all saw that before, but that's like the fire people and the ice people.
Oh,
and, I mean, the water
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And the fire girl falls in love with the water boy. And he's like, sometimes what do you say? Sometimes your temper is a way of basically your heart telling you that it's something wrong. Like there's something you're not saying to yourself.
God.
And so I was like, these cartoons, I mean, they
Full of
get so
wisdom.
deep. The animation
Yeah.
is so full
And
of
that's
wisdom.
why children are like, why aren't you using your words?
Exactly. Exactly. Why are you yelling at me?
Right.
What are you really feeling? So I feel like, that crying is your way of,
My heart telling
your
me
heart
something.
telling you something is wrong, and I need you to be able to speak it to yourself if no one else. So maybe that's your start.
I just
speaking it to
mastered the
yourself.
art of suppression. Like
Yeah,
when
well,
I
you
say I can bury something so
but it's
deep,
gonna
and then
come
I
out
wonder,
some way. It's
then
gonna
I
come
wonder
out,
when
yeah.
the trigger, and sometimes the trigger will happen, I won't even realize it, but anxiety will set in.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
exactly. Yeah,
okay.
you're suppressing, and it
Yeah.
has to come out some kind of way.
I know.
Yeah,
I need
yeah,
to.
yeah. So yeah,
Cut it out.
yes, yes. You are. This is the year. 2025 is the year. Okay.
Okay.
New beginnings.
Yes, ma'am.
So what have you learned about yourself and just how your triggers and how you're coping?
Pretty
with
much
it?
an open novel at this
Okay.
point. So, but I just think I am very open with my very opposite, with my emotions and feelings. Probably say a little bit too much. Probably, might be to hold some things in, but I don't know. I think sometimes I'm too trusting with people that don't really need to. I don't need to spill out to everybody.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow,
So,
that's a good one.
yeah, because
That's a good one.
it can be
So
used
being
against
more-
you in
Yes.
court of law.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
It can. It can in the court of law. It can. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I think for me, what I've noticed like two major things. I think number one, I've noticed that a trigger for me is like, and my girls like use this like it's nothing, but I'm like, do y'all really know what that means? I think they do, but it's like, it's funny that they're using it, but they're like, well, she was trying to gaslight him or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's interesting that y'all are using that term because I never knew, I mean, not till I was older, really what that meant.
Still don't understand
But I
it.
hate, it's like almost like somebody's trying to tell you what you're thinking or how to think or what, they're trying to twist. I just look at it as either twisting what you're saying or feeling or trying to tell you this is what you're feeling and thinking. I mean, I feel like that's a technique that a lot of abusive people use.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a trigger for me. It's like, and I think because when I was growing up, I was always so quiet, like with my mom and stuff especially, and she would like just straight up blame me for something. And I would just be like, okay, you're telling me that I did this. So the gaslighting. And then
Yeah.
later on she would find out that it wasn't what she thought. And she'd be like, well, why didn't you say anything? Because you just straight up just told me that I did it. So, and I feel like when I come across that with someone, it's a trigger. Because it's like, you are trying to convince me of my own feelings and my own thoughts and my intentions, which almost makes somebody feel powerless to a certain extent. So I noticed that's a trigger. And now I noticed that I would react by arguing my points or whatever, but then I realized that doesn't work. So now I just be quiet. And I'm just like, the silence is going to speak volumes.
But that means that you're reverting back to what you did when you were a child.
I know. Well, in this case, I feel like once I've expressed what I truly intend, because I didn't express anything then, but now I'm expressing to you, this is what I meant, this is what I'm feeling. And if you choose to keep believing what you believe, then that's on you now, because I've said what I need to say. So I'm trying to be more of an advocate for myself in that way, but I didn't realize that was such a trigger for me, All right. So, and then I've discovered that another trigger for me that, like you said, produces so much anxiety is just that, that feeling of perfectionism. Like when I know I have to do something, like automatically I just get triggered, like, oh my God, how do I do this? It's like all the things come to my mind, flooding my mind, and I overwhelm myself. And it ends up causing me to not enjoy something that could be a fun learning experience, because my coping mechanism is just to freeze and freak out, and I'm learning that what I'm learning about myself is that I have to know who I am, number one, when it comes to the gaslighting. And number two, with just the perfectionism, overwhelm, I need to give myself grace and compassion. So I'm going to segue into coping mechanisms for your triggers because we can't run from them. They're going to show up one way or another. So we have to learn how to deal with them. And what I have learned about myself, I don't have great coping mechanisms. And so I looked at, which my therapist kind of we went through this together, grounding techniques. And I shared one with y'all, one grounding technique. And grounding is just a way to kind of refocus and get yourself out of that freak out mode or whatever it is that you're feeling or experiencing inside your body or whatever when that trigger happens. It's very hard for me because when I'm in, I'm in. Like, and when I'm feeling some sort of way, I'm just like, oh, I told y'all, like, I'll go there quick.
Yeah.
So I have to be really conscious of making myself ground myself because I can get up. I don't know about y'all. I wake up sometimes and be like, okay, what Keisha I'm going to get today?
Oh.
Because I can wake up for no reason and just feel bad or feel angry and I'm like, why am I feeling this way? I don't want to do that. I don't want to be so, I think, out of touch sometimes with myself that I wake up and myself is telling me something's off. Because that's really what it is. Like, you need to spend more quiet time with Jesus. You need to spend more quiet time with yourself because these emotions are coming from somewhere, So grounding, I told y'all about the 5 senses, which has been very helpful sometimes for me. But there's a method called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where you basically working backwards from 5, use your senses to list the things that you notice around you. And that's kind of like helping you to focus on something else other than that anxiety producing trigger, that you're experiencing. So you start with 5 things you hear, 4 things you see, 3 things you can touch from where you're sitting, because of course, you're in the moment. So 2 things you can smell and 1 thing you can taste. And like I told y'all before, you actually literally need to find something that you can put in your mouth. So I don't know if you walk around with mints or whatever, just something that, if you're in this moment, you have something physical that's taking your mind off of that, that state, of being. Something that has worked for me. It can be very dangerous if you're not careful, but I don't suppress, but I've learned how to dissociate. And this has been helpful because for me, what I'll do is I'll separate myself from that little girl. I mean, and I'm compassionate, but let me just say it like this. I'm separating myself from how that little girl used to react or think. So for instance, if I'm in a moment where I'm overwhelming myself and I'm thinking these horrible thoughts, I'm like, don't be mean to her. I'm like telling myself, like, don't be mean to her. Like, be kind to her, because I was so used to being so hard on myself or whatever. So now it's like, we're not doing that to her anymore. And it's almost like taking myself out of that moment because now I'm not connecting with that feeling of overwhelm or harshness or criticism or judgment or whatever it is I'm feeling that moment. I'm immediately going to compassion because I think about it, if my girls or my sons or my whatever, they were feeling that way, I would speak to them that way. So let me give myself the same grace, So that has been helpful. And at first I was like, is this healthy? But when I started, because I didn't even know it was a name for it, I just started doing it instinctually,
Child,
yes.
I've been having self-dialogues with myself.
I mean, I would have it, but they weren't positive, like they weren't.
I have those too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it is called dissociation, and it can be helpful in the moment because, again, it's helping you to refocus and get yourself out of that trigger so that it doesn't like paralyze you or take you to a place where you don't want to go. The only time it's unhealthy is like when you're really doing it to try to escape. Because the purpose is not like to avoid the feeling or the trigger, is to get out of it for the moment so you can think clearly. Because, as soon as you start being triggered by something, rationalism goes out the door. You
So I
know,
was
and that's
doing it all wrong. I'm trying to escape it.
yeah. I mean, and you might in that second, it'll help you escape from the reaction, the what am I trying to say? The ineffective or unproductive reaction. It kind of gives you a better way to deal with the trigger. Like, oh, I see you, but instead of me freaking out and whatever, I'm going to and shutting down or suppressing. I'm going to dissociate right now, or I'm going to actually say what I need to say, and maybe I need to act like I'm talking to somebody else. And that'll help me to like get it out, but not focus on, the old feelings or the old things that, triggered me before. So, yeah, so those are two methods and of course, mindfulness, meditation, prayer, all the wonderful things. There's so many ways to cope, but you really have to find something that works for you, because you can list a million of them, but if it really is not helping you to come out of that moment, it's no point. And I think grounding is so important because, like I said, when I get into those moments, I feel like my whole world is like shattering around me. Like I cannot. It's just scary because it's almost like you don't feel safe. That's the best way I can explain it. You don't feel safe within yourself because, oh my God, why am I feeling like this? Why am I experiencing this? And then you may not feel safe in your environment because it's like, oh, this person see this? Are they gonna, are they gonna hurt me? Are they gonna, I don't know. I mean, it's just so many things that come with that. So it's like you have to be able to ground and stabilize yourself in those moments. So yeah. So hopefully those two methods, is something y'all can work with, and amongst other things that you might do. But yeah, we don't want to suppress anymore. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have for y'all for now. Hope that was helpful.
Yes.
Okay.
Very
Yes,
helpful.
well, thank you. And remember to guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life.
Hello. Welcome to the Nerds Corners, ladies and viewers and everyone. Get nice and cozy, snuggle up. So the holidays have kind of come to an end. And around this time, I like to do what is called simmer pots. And, I've done a good job. It's been maybe 2 years or so. I've just been trying to stop burning so many scented candles and the amount of a fragrance that I can't control.
Okay.
Meaning, and I don't want to put any company on blast, but the very popular company that has all the scents. Okay. The first week in December, they have this huge candle sale. And I just said, of course I've seen a documentary.
Oh, Lord. Don't you talk about my
And I will not. But
because I still have one that I want to burn. It smells very yummy.
So I've just been more conscious about fragrances and smells. And also a couple of months back, my husband had just broke out with this very bad case of eczema. And so I'm going throughout the house trying to figure out get rid of any and every possible perfumey, whatever. So someone came over to my house and they were like, oh my God, what is that smell? What are you cooking? I'm like, okay. One thing about me, I worry about my house smell. I do not want anyone to walk into my home or leave my home and have a bad house smell on them. You ever walked in somebody's house and it's just like, y'all don't smell that?
Yes.
I know nose blindness and deafness or whatever they call is a thing. However, what I'm smelling on my skin, like my clothes, y'all live in that?
That's almost like smokers. So
it's like,
how do you breathe? How are you breathing right now?
So I told her, I said, what you're smelling besides the aromatherapy, the diffusers and I have a simmer pot going. And she was like, well, what the heck is that? So it's this glass pot. It's about a 4-quart glass pot. And what I put in there at that particular time, what I had in there, I had clovers, the actual clover bud. I had cinnamon sticks, cranberries, oranges, some lemon, cinnamon. Cinnamon. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not trying to be fancy and say cinnamon.
Right.
It is called cinnamon or cinnamon or something like that, but it's closely related to cinnamon. Anise.
Okay.
and I'm missing something else. Oh, and some sprigs of rosemary, the actual flower. And I bring it up to I just put in some regular water, put all that in that pot, bring it up to a very high boil. And once it does that, I'll put it down on simmer and let it simmer. And the smell in your home,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's so amazing. And those things together gives you that Christmassy, spicy type of smell. And it just smells so amazing. And she was like, oh my God, it smells like you're baking pies and cookies.
That smells
all the
so
things.
good. Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of share that
Yeah.
and give you kind of like an alternative, healthier way to bring nice aromas to your home.
And I appreciate that because something that our mom used to do is burn cinnamon. I mean, like not burn, Lord, but simmer the cinnamon. And I still do that. I'll just do cinnamon by itself, but now I'm going to try some other fun things like you. So is this from health food store you get your herbs?
No, you can get. I just buy the the organic section of the regular grocery store. Now if you can get it from the health food store, that would be even better. But I was just in there getting something for a friend who has been recently diagnosed with cancer. I was looking for some soursop for her. Because that helps kill cancer cells. And they had it's best to do the leaf, the whole leaf. But they had the ground soursop. That stuff was $20 an ounce.
That's crazy.
I love it dearly.
That's when you know it's potent.
Yes. But you could do all types of combinations. And I remember what made me go back to that was because back when I was a little girl, when I would go visit my aunt in the summers in Connecticut, my little friend that I had, she was Puerto Rican, and her mom would kind of do a simmer pot, but she would put Fabuloso in the simmer pot. It made the house smell great, but there's some toxic stuff, and you're heating it up. And so one day I was like, I wonder if I can put this and that, because you think about it, when I'm baking banana nut bread, you smell it.
Oh, I would love that.
So
that's gonna I'm gonna crave some sugar. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it doesn't. Honestly, it doesn't trigger your sweet anything because I don't know. It doesn't give you the
natural
scent off of a candle. But it's more of a natural, like when it's baking or cooking. There's different. And so you know that in the spice section there are flavored extracts as well. So you can flavor it up and do strawberry. Like I have some strawberry extract for when I'm baking my strawberry cakes. I poured a little bit of that in there and put some cranberry. So I'll make little different concoctions, but that's maybe one way that you can have your area kind of smell good.
I like that. Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah,
and I know even though you were being good, you weren't telling us you weren't talking about candles bad.
Oh no, I'm not.
But I know it's definitely because certain candles, my throat will hurt.
Yeah.
If I burn it, so I'm like, something ain't right.
I mean, I could blow your top right now, but I'm not gonna do that because that's not my place. I mean, I do want to give everyone healthier alternatives and just kind of help you be mindful of your space because a lot of people don't have proper filtration in their home, and that's majority of the space that you spend most of your time. And a lot of people don't understand that the air in their house is sometimes more toxic than the air outside. So just to provide you with some alternative measures. I mean, I've already talked about the diffusers with the essential oils. And you can put some essential oils in those simmer pots too with some water. Use the oils of your choice. Set it on your stove. Bring it to a high heat. Once it gets to a high heat, put it down very, very low where it's simmering, and the smell will just waft through the house and just be lovely. Now, another thing you can do if you just don't, say you got little kids and you just, or you're busy and you just don't have time to please keep an eye on your simmer pot, because I did that and I had an episode of like Tom from Tom and Jerry. I was like, hey, what's up? And I'm burning the stuff. I'm like, oh God, I forgot it was in there. And I totally ruined the pot. So if you just all over the place that day, maybe you're cleaning or whatever, they have little 2 and 3 quart crock pots that you can make simmer pots out of it. And you know, a crock pot, once it gets to whatever setting, it automatically goes to the warm setting or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a very, more safe way to
Right.
do. But that's also an option that you can use.
Okay.
The little teeny crock pots.
Sounds so cute.
Yeah.
Well,
So
just because it's teeny.
yeah. So
Okay.
those are some. I just thought of that when she came to the house, and I normally do that during the holidays because it has that
Right.
Christmassy smell.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I could share that with the people.
Yes.
So simmer
People
pots.
Try that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank
Yeah. If
you.
you try it, let me know.
I will. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
Very informative.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Heal With Us.
And remember, healing is a process, so take it one day at a time.
And also remember, you can reach us across all social media platforms. All the ones that you can think of, we are there. You can email us at healwithus3@gmail.com. Reach out to us, say hello, send us a nice message, make us smile. But yeah, reach out to us. We would love to hear from you.
Heal with us.
Heal with